There is a moment in life that changes everything. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It does not arrive with applause. It happens quietly, perhaps late at night, perhaps after a difficult day, perhaps during a simple reflection. You begin to feel it, a sense that you are capable of more, not because you are failing, not because you are behind, but because something inside you knows there is a higher level available. And that feeling is not pressure, it is potential. Let me reassure you of something important. The desire to improve your financial life is not greed, it is growth, it is responsibility, it is expansion. Every financially successful person you admire once stood exactly where you are standing now, with uncertainty, with questions, with ambition. The only difference is this: they decided to become intentional about their habits, intentional about their thinking, intentional about their daily actions, and you can do the same. Nothing about wealth creation requires perfection. It requires alignment. Small decisions, repeated daily, calmly, consistently. Take a slow breath. Imagine yourself 5 years from now, financially stronger, emotionally steadier, strategically sharper. That version of you is not unrealistic. It is built through habits. And today, you begin installing them. Most people want success, but few define it clearly. And without definition, the mind drifts. Drifting creates anxiety. Anxiety creates hesitation. Hesitation slows growth. Clarity removes that tension. When you know exactly what you are working toward, you feel grounded. Specific income goals, specific timelines, specific milestones. Clarity is calming because it replaces confusion with direction. When you write down a clear financial objective, your brain begins working in the background, quietly, constantly. You start noticing opportunities you once overlooked. You begin evaluating decisions more strategically. You ask better questions. Clarity sharpens perception, and perception influences income. Take your time defining what you want. There is no rush. Think carefully. What level of income would create security? What level would create freedom? What level would allow contribution? Write it down. When a goal moves from your mind onto paper, it becomes tangible. And once it becomes tangible, it becomes achievable. Clarity does not create pressure. It creates alignment. And alignment is powerful. Discipline is often misunderstood. It is not harsh. It is not rigid. It is not extreme. True discipline is steady. It is the quiet decision to act even when emotions fluctuate. There will be days when motivation feels high and days when it feels absent. If you rely on motivation alone, your progress will rise and fall. But discipline creates stability, and stability builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum. Momentum builds results. The most financially successful individuals do not operate based on mood. They operate based on standards. They decide in advance, I will complete this task. I will make this call. I will improve this skill. Then they follow through. Not perfectly, not obsessively, but consistently. And consistency compounds. One focused day may seem small, but one focused day repeated 300 times is transformation.
Discipline reduces internal conflict. When you act despite hesitation, you strengthen trust in yourself, and self-trust is invaluable, because financial growth requires decisions, and confident decisions require self-trust. Discipline, in its calmest form, is simply keeping promises to yourself, and every promise you keep strengthens your identity. Every day offers equal hours, but not equal impact. Some activities drain energy without producing results. Others generate measurable progress. The difference between average income and exceptional income often lies in a single decision: where you place your best energy. High performers identify their highest value activity, the action that produces the greatest financial return, and they prioritize it early, before distractions, before emails, before noise. This habit alone can dramatically shift income over time. Imagine dedicating 1 uninterrupted hour each day to your most valuable work, fully focused, calm, undistracted. No multitasking, just depth. Over months, that hour compounds. Skills improve, opportunities expand, confidence strengthens. Busy does not equal productive. Productive equals value. And value is what the marketplace rewards. Ask yourself each morning, what single action today would move me closer to my financial goal? Then begin there, with clarity, with intention, with calm determination. This is not about working more. It is about working strategically. And strategy reduces overwhelm. When you focus on what truly matters, progress feels steady, not chaotic.
Take a slow breath, because what we are about to discuss is one of the most misunderstood parts of financial success: failure. For many people, the word itself creates tension. It feels heavy, personal, uncomfortable. But let me gently reframe it for you. Failure is not a verdict. It is information. There is a profound difference. When something does not work, a business idea falls short, a deal collapses, a proposal is rejected, the mind quickly tries to interpret it, and without awareness, it may whisper dangerous conclusions. Maybe I'm not capable. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should stop. But those interpretations are not facts. They are emotional reactions, and reactions can be adjusted. Financially successful individuals do not experience fewer failures. They experience them differently. They approach setbacks with curiosity rather than self-judgment. They ask calm, constructive questions. What went wrong? What assumption proved inaccurate? What skill needs strengthening? What information was missing? Notice how empowering those questions are. They shift the focus from identity to improvement. Failure becomes data, and data is useful, very useful. Think about any complex skill: driving, speaking publicly, negotiating, investing. No one masters these without mistakes. Every mistake refines judgment. Every setback sharpens perception. Every disappointment builds emotional endurance. In fact, one of the greatest hidden advantages in wealth building is resilience. Resilience is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is the ability to remain steady when outcomes are uncertain. And here is something reassuring. Resilience can be developed. Each time you experience a setback and choose to respond thoughtfully rather than emotionally, you strengthen that muscle. And over time, you become less shaken by volatility. That calm stability
is extremely valuable in business and investing, because financial growth often requires patience. Markets fluctuate, clients hesitate, strategies evolve. Those who panic retreat. Those who remain composed adapt. And adaptation wins. Now imagine looking back 5 years from today. Some of the failures you fear now will likely appear small in hindsight, perhaps even necessary. You may one day say, if that had not happened, I would not have learned this. That is the long-term perspective of high earners. They understand that progress is rarely linear. There are expansions, there are contractions, there are corrections, but overall direction matters more than temporary dips. Let me reassure you of something powerful. One failed attempt does not define your trajectory. One poor decision does not cancel your potential. What defines trajectory is response. If you learn, adjust, continue, you remain in motion, and motion creates momentum. Even small improvements compound. Perhaps your first negotiation felt awkward. The second will be clearer. The third will feel natural. Growth often feels uncomfortable in its early stages, but discomfort is not danger, it is expansion, and expansion is necessary for higher income levels. Financial comfort zones exist. If you only operate where outcomes are guaranteed, your growth ceiling remains low. Failure stretches that ceiling. It teaches judgment. It refines strategy. It deepens emotional maturity. And emotional maturity is one of the most undervalued assets in wealth creation, because money amplifies who you are. If you panic easily, money amplifies that. If you remain composed, money amplifies that too. So use failure as training, not as identity. Pause. Reflect. Extract the lesson. Apply the adjustment. Continue forward calmly. Remember this: the people who achieve exceptional financial results are not those who avoided failure. They are those who stayed in the game long enough to benefit from the lessons. And you can do the same, steadily, strategically, without self-judgment. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the path to it. And once you truly understand that, fear loses its grip. You begin to act more freely, more intelligently, more confidently. And that shift alone changes everything.
Take a slow breath. Because when people hear the word risk, the body often tightens. Risk can sound dangerous, unstable, uncertain. But in the context of wealth building, risk does not mean recklessness. It means movement, thoughtful movement. There comes a point in every growth journey where preparation alone is no longer enough. You have studied, you have improved your skills, you have clarified your goals, but progress now requires a step forward, and that step will not come with absolute guarantees. This is normal. No meaningful financial advancement has ever come with complete certainty. New business ventures carry uncertainty, investments carry uncertainty, career transitions carry uncertainty. But uncertainty is not the same as danger. The key difference lies in preparation. Recklessness ignores information. Strategic risk respects it. High-income earners do not leap blindly. They assess, they calculate, they evaluate potential outcomes. They ask, what is the downside? Can I absorb that downside? What is the upside? Does the upside justify the move? When those questions are answered calmly, risk becomes structured. It becomes manageable,
and often it becomes necessary. Staying completely safe may protect you from loss, but it also limits gain. If you never propose your service at a higher rate, you never discover who would pay it. If you never expand your offer, you never test its true market value. If you never invest in your skill development, you never increase your earning capacity. Comfort zones feel stable, but they quietly cap growth, and growth requires expansion. Let me reassure you of something important. You do not need to take massive risks to build wealth. You need intelligent, measured ones. Small, calculated steps, increasing your prices gradually, launching a pilot version of a new idea, testing a side project before committing fully. These are controlled experiments. Experiments teach you without destroying stability, and each experiment builds confidence. Confidence reduces fear, and reduced fear improves decision-making. Another powerful principle: risk decreases as competence increases. The more skilled you become, the more informed your decisions are. The more informed your decisions are, the less random your outcomes feel. Which is why investing in yourself is often the safest risk you can take. Skills compound, knowledge compounds, experience compounds, and over time, what once felt risky begins to feel normal. Think about the first time you negotiated a salary. It may have felt uncomfortable, but after several conversations, you gained composure. Risk turned into routine. Growth always feels uncertain at first, but that uncertainty shrinks with exposure. Now consider something deeply reassuring. You are allowed to move slowly. Strategic risk is not urgency, it is progression. You do not need to change your entire life overnight. You simply need to take one thoughtful step beyond comfort, then another, then another. Over time, those steps accumulate, and what once seemed intimidating becomes part of your identity. Financial growth is rarely explosive at the beginning. It is built through repeated, measured expansion, and measured expansion feels stable because you remain in control. Ask yourself gently, where am I playing too small? Where could I stretch slightly without jeopardizing stability? That is your next move. Not reckless, not impulsive, just intentional. Remember this: security comes from capability, and capability grows when you stretch your limits. Strategic risk is simply the bridge between where you are and where you are capable of being. You do not cross that bridge all at once. You walk it calmly, step by step, with awareness, with preparation, with confidence. And as you do, your tolerance for growth expands, your opportunities expand, your income expands. Not because you gambled, but because you moved forward with intelligence and courage. And courage, when guided by wisdom, is one of the most profitable traits you can develop.
Take a quiet moment, because this chapter changes perspective. Many people work hard, very hard. They earn income, they manage expenses, they try to save when possible, and yet progress feels slower than effort. Why? Because earning money and building wealth are not the same skill. This is where financial intelligence becomes essential. Financial intelligence is not about complicated formulas. It is not about secret insider knowledge. It is about perspective. The difference between thinking like a worker and thinking like an owner. An earner asks, how can I make more money? An owner asks, how can my money, skills, or systems make money? Do you feel the shift? One depends on personal effort. The other builds leverage.
Let us move calmly through this. When you think only as an earner, your income is tied directly to your time. More hours equals more income. But time is limited, and limited resources create income ceilings. An owner understands something powerful. Money can be directed. Skills can be packaged. Systems can be built. Instead of asking, how many hours can I work? The financially intelligent mind asks, how can this value be multiplied? For example, instead of selling only your time, can you create an offer that scales? Instead of earning and spending, can you invest in assets that appreciate? Instead of consuming everything you earn, can you direct a portion toward growth? This shift does not happen overnight, and there is no need for pressure. It develops gradually. Financial intelligence begins with awareness. Where does your money go? Not emotionally, objectively. Awareness removes anxiety. Clarity creates control, and control builds confidence. When you understand your cash flow, you reduce financial stress. When you understand investment principles, you reduce fear of volatility. When you understand asset accumulation, you reduce dependence on a single income source. Let me reassure you of something deeply important. Wealth is built through income alone. It is built through ownership. Ownership of skills, ownership of assets, ownership of systems. Consider this gently. If you stopped working for 6 months, would income continue? If the answer is no, there is opportunity for growth. That is not criticism. It is simply clarity, and clarity is empowering. Financially intelligent individuals gradually build income streams that are not entirely dependent on daily effort. Investments, equity, royalties, businesses, digital products, real estate. They do not rush into these. They study, they learn, they test carefully. Strategic patience reduces risk. And here's another subtle but powerful trait. They separate emotion from money decisions. Impulse spending is emotional. Panic selling is emotional. Fear-based hesitation is emotional. Financial intelligence invites calm evaluation. Before a decision, pause. Ask, is this aligned with my long-term objective? Does this build capacity or reduce it? Does this strengthen my position or weaken it? These small pauses prevent large regrets, and over time, wise decisions compound. One disciplined investment may seem small at first, but compounded over years, it grows quietly, silently, powerfully. That's how ownership thinks. Now, imagine your future self again. Not just earning more, but owning more. Owning assets that generate income. Owning systems that operate even when you rest. Owning knowledge that increases your value. That future is not unrealistic. It is constructed step by step. Reading, learning, applying, adjusting. Financial intelligence is a habit, and like any habit, it strengthens through repetition. You do not need to know everything today. You simply need to begin thinking differently. From earner to builder. From consumer to investor. From worker only to owner. This mental shift alone can transform your long-term financial trajectory, and you can develop it calmly, strategically, without urgency. Because wealth built with patience is wealth built with stability. And stability creates freedom.
There's a quiet truth about high levels of income. They are rarely created by effort alone. Effort matters, discipline matters, skill matters. But effort without leverage has limits, and limits create ceilings. Leverage is what removes ceilings. Leverage is the ability to multiply results without multiplying effort at the same rate. It is not about working endlessly. It is about working intelligently, calmly, strategically. Let us make this simple. If you work 1 hour and earn once, that is linear effort. If you build something once and it earns repeatedly, that is leverage. Leverage allows you to detach income from constant physical presence, and that shift changes everything. There are several forms of leverage: time leverage, skill leverage, capital leverage, technology leverage, people leverage. Let us walk through them slowly. Time leverage begins with prioritization. When you focus on high-value tasks and eliminate low-value distractions, you multiply the impact of each hour. This alone increases income potential. Skill leverage happens when expertise becomes scalable. Instead of repeating explanations one-on-one, you create frameworks, processes, products. You teach once, you sell many times. Capital leverage occurs when money is directed toward investments that produce returns. Instead of money sitting still, it begins working, quietly, steadily. Technology leverage is one of the greatest advantages of our time. A single digital product can reach thousands. A single system can automate tasks that once consumed hours. Technology compresses effort. People leverage is perhaps the most powerful of all. When you build a team or collaborate strategically, you expand output beyond your individual capacity. One person can only do so much, but aligned individuals multiply results. Now, pause for a moment. Leverage does not mean loss of control. It does not mean recklessness. It means design, intentional design. Financially intelligent individuals constantly ask, how can this process become more efficient? How can this effort be reused? How can this system run with less supervision? Those questions lead to freedom, because without leverage, success becomes exhausting. With leverage, success becomes sustainable. There is something deeply reassuring about that. You do not need to work harder every year to earn more every year. You need to design smarter systems. Think of it this way. If your income depends only on your direct labor, you're trading time for money. But time is finite. If your income depends on assets, systems, investments, or teams, you are building infrastructure. Infrastructure creates durability, and durability creates peace of mind. This is how financially mature individuals think. They do not chase income. They construct engines, engines that produce income. Now, here's an important reminder. Leverage is built gradually. You do not need complex structures immediately. Start small. Automate one process. Invest a small percentage consistently. Document your method so it can be repeated. Delegate a minor task. Each improvement compounds, and over time, your effort produces more than it once did. The most powerful realization is this: you can design your financial life intentionally. You are not required to remain in linear effort forever. You can transition, step by step, from worker only to builder of systems. And that transition is one of the most liberating phases in wealth creation,
because once leverage is active, your growth no longer depends solely on how many hours you can endure. It depends on how intelligently you design. And intelligent design is calm, measured, strategic. You are not rushing. You are building. And what you build wisely can support you for years. That is the power of leverage. Doing more without doing more.
Growth is exciting. There is energy in it, momentum in it, possibility in it. But growth without structure creates instability, and instability creates stress. True wealth is not built through chaotic expansion. It is built through controlled scaling. Scaling income means increasing earnings without increasing stress at the same rate, without increasing risk blindly, without sacrificing stability. And this requires maturity. Let us move slowly through this idea. There is a difference between making more money and building a scalable financial structure. Many people experience temporary income spikes, a good month, a strong quarter, a big opportunity. But spikes are not stability. Stability comes from systems, predictability, process. When income increases, the natural temptation is to increase lifestyle immediately. Better car, bigger expenses, higher commitments. But scaling intelligently requires restraint. Instead of expanding lifestyle first, you expand foundation. You reinforce savings. You increase investments. You improve systems. You strengthen cash flow management. This creates a buffer, and buffers create calm. Scaling is healthiest when it happens on a stable base. Imagine building a tall structure. If the foundation is weak, height becomes dangerous. If the foundation is strong, height becomes sustainable. The same principle applies to income. As you begin earning more, ask yourself gently, is my structure prepared for this level? Do I have reserves? Are my processes organized? Is my growth diversified? Diversification is another powerful element of stable scaling. Relying on one income source creates vulnerability. Multiple aligned streams create resilience. This does not mean scattering energy everywhere. It means building complementary growth. For example, if you build a strong service, can you add a product? If you earn from employment, can you add investments? If you own one asset class, can you gradually diversify? These are calm, intentional expansions, not emotional leaps. Emotion-driven growth collapses under pressure. Strategic growth strengthens under pressure. Another critical aspect of scaling is capacity. Can you handle increased demand? Can you maintain quality as volume rises? Can you delegate effectively? Scaling without preparation creates burnout. Scaling with preparation creates freedom. This is where earlier principles combine. Clarity guides direction. Discipline maintains execution. Financial intelligence strengthens structure. Leverage multiplies output. Now scaling becomes the natural next step, not forced, not rushed, but earned. There is something deeply reassuring about slow scaling, because it respects sustainability. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are building longevity. The goal is not a dramatic rise. The goal is consistent elevation. Think in years, not weeks. Think in decades, not quarters. Wealth built with patience is rarely destroyed by volatility. Now consider something powerful. Stability itself is attractive. Clients trust stability. Investors respect stability. Opportunities flow toward stability. Calm growth signals competence, and competence attracts capital. As you scale, remember this principle. Protect your downside while expanding your upside. Maintain reserves. Avoid overextension. Increase capacity gradually. Test before fully committing. Evaluate performance regularly. These habits prevent fragile growth, and fragile growth is what collapses during pressure. Strong growth adapts, and adaptation ensures survival. Scaling income is not about speed, it is about strength. You do not need explosive growth, you need stable expansion. And stable expansion brings peace. Because when your financial life is structured, when growth is supported, when risks are measured, you begin to feel something powerful. Control. Not control over the world, but control over your direction. And direction creates confidence. Confidence reduces fear. Reduced fear improves decisions. Improved decisions increase income further. This is the upward cycle of sustainable wealth. Scaling done correctly feels calm. It feels deliberate. It feels stable. And stability.
There is a quiet advantage to anyone willing to claim it. It does not require genius. It does not require special access. It does not require luck. It requires patience. Long-term thinking is one of the rarest financial habits and one of the most powerful. Most people measure progress in weeks. Some measure it in months. Very few measure it in decades. And yet, wealth compounds over decades. Skill compounds over decades. Reputation compounds over decades. Relationships compound over decades. Compounding is invisible at first. That is why many people quit. They plant a seed, water it for a short time, see no immediate result, and assume nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, strength is building. Financial growth works the same way. Investments grow slowly at first. Businesses feel fragile at first. Skills develop awkwardly at first. But time transforms effort into momentum. The challenge is emotional, because the early phase does not feel dramatic. It feels repetitive, quiet, sometimes even discouraging. And this is where long-term thinkers separate themselves. They understand something deeply reassuring. Progress does not need to be exciting to be real. It simply needs to be consistent. Let us look at this calmly. Imagine two individuals. One jumps from strategy to strategy every year, chasing trends, seeking fast gains. The other selects a strong direction and improves it steadily for 10 years. Who develops mastery? Who builds reputation? Who compounds relationships? Who earns trust? Time rewards stability. In investing, the power of compounding is mathematical. Returns build on returns. Growth builds on growth. In career and business, the compounding is reputational. Your name gains weight. Your experience deepens. Your judgment sharpens. What once required effort becomes natural. And the longer you remain in motion, the more powerful your position becomes. Now pause and reflect. Have you ever underestimated what you could achieve in 5 years? Most people do. They overestimate what can happen in 1 year and underestimate what can happen in 10.
Long-term thinking reduces anxiety because you stop demanding immediate perfection. You allow yourself space to learn. You give your investments time to grow. You give your systems time to refine. You give your reputation time to strengthen. Patience is not passive. It is strategic endurance. It is continuing to execute sound decisions even when applause is absent, even when results are subtle, even when growth feels slow. Here's something deeply calming. You do not need constant breakthroughs. You need steady participation. The individuals who build significant wealth often stay in the game longer than others. They do not panic during downturns. They do not abandon their strategy during slow seasons. They adapt, but they do not quit. This habit alone eliminates enormous competition because many people exit too early in investing, too early in entrepreneurship, too early in skill development, too early in relationship building. They stop just before momentum arrives. Long-term thinkers understand something critical. Momentum often appears suddenly, but it is built gradually. Years of disciplined effort can appear overnight as success, but that overnight moment is usually a decade in progress. Now imagine your future self 10 years from today. Calm, experienced, financially stronger. That future is not created by dramatic bursts. It is created by daily consistency maintained over long horizons. Long-term thinking also changes your decisions. You ask different questions. Will this matter in 5 years? Will this decision strengthen my position long-term? Is this impulse aligned with my decade strategy? These questions reduce emotional mistakes. They protect capital. They protect energy. They protect focus. And protection is powerful, because capital preserved is capital that can compound. Relationships preserved are relationships that can deepen. Reputation preserved is reputation that can elevate. Time is not your enemy. When used wisely, time is your greatest ally. But time only rewards those who remain consistent. So do not rush your growth. Do not compare your early chapters to someone else's middle. Do not abandon steady progress for short-term excitement. Choose the longer game. Play patiently. Improve gradually. Allow compounding to work quietly on your behalf. Because most people quit early. And simply by refusing to quit too soon, you dramatically increase your probability of success. Long-term thinking is calm power. It is steady confidence. It is disciplined optimism. And in the end, it is one of the most reliable wealth-building habits you can ever develop.
We often talk about money as numbers: income, expenses, investments, returns. But beneath every financial decision, there is something quieter: emotion, fear, excitement, greed, impatience, doubt, confidence. And here is a truth that many overlook. Wealth is rarely destroyed by lack of intelligence. It is more often damaged by unmanaged emotion. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings. It is about understanding them without letting them control your decisions. This is deeply reassuring because emotions are natural. Fear during uncertainty is natural. Excitement during opportunity is natural. Frustration during slow growth is natural. The goal is not to eliminate these feelings. The goal is to remain steady despite them. Let us move slowly here. Imagine the market declines suddenly. An emotional reaction says, "Get out immediately."
A grounded response asks, what has actually changed? Imagine an investment doubles quickly. An emotional reaction says, this will continue forever. A grounded response asks, what are the fundamentals? Emotional mastery creates pause, and pause protects capital. Financial growth requires long-term participation, and long-term participation requires stability. If your emotions swing dramatically, your decisions will swing with them, and inconsistency erodes wealth. The most successful individuals in finance, business, and investing develop something quiet and powerful: temperance. They do not overreact. They do not celebrate excessively in success. They do not collapse in difficulty. They remain measured, balanced, calm. And calm thinking produces better outcomes. Now, consider this gently. Where do your strongest financial emotions appear? Is it fear of loss? Fear of not having enough? Impatience for faster growth? Comparison with others? Awareness is the first step to mastery. When you recognize your patterns, they lose some of their control. Emotional maturity develops over time. Each market fluctuation you experience strengthens composure. Each negotiation builds confidence. Each setback improves resilience. And resilience is a quiet financial advantage, because during uncertainty, many people panic. They sell too early. They abandon strategies too quickly. They make impulsive decisions. But those with emotional control remain steady. They evaluate. They adjust if necessary. But they do not react blindly. Here's something deeply comforting. You do not need to be fearless. You need to be regulated. You do not need to eliminate doubt. You need to prevent doubt from dictating action. Emotional mastery also protects lifestyle. When income rises, excitement can encourage overspending. When income drops temporarily, fear can encourage retreat. Balance prevents both extremes. Another subtle but powerful element of emotional control is detachment from external validation. Wealth built to impress others often leads to fragile decisions. Wealth built for stability and freedom leads to stronger foundations. Comparison is emotional noise, and noise disrupts clarity. When you define your own path, you reduce reactive behavior. Rational choices compound. Compounded rational decisions create stability, and stability creates peace. Now, imagine yourself in a high-pressure moment, a significant financial decision, a volatile situation. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause, you breathe, you assess objectively. That pause may save you years of recovery, because in finance, a few emotional mistakes can undo years of discipline. Emotional mastery is a protective shield. It guards your investments. It guards your reputation. It guards your relationships. It guards your long-term strategy. And like every other habit, it strengthens through practice. Each time you respond calmly instead of impulsively, you reinforce stability. Each time you avoid an emotional purchase, you strengthen discipline. Each time you hold steady during uncertainty, you build confidence. Confidence born from composure is durable. It does not collapse under stress. It does not depend on constant success. It rests on internal balance. And internal balance is one of the greatest wealth protectors you will ever develop. Because in the end, markets fluctuate, opportunities change, economic cycles rise and fall, but a steady mind remains powerful in all environments. And when your inner world is stable, your outer world becomes far easier to manage. Emotional mastery is not dramatic. It is quiet strength. And quiet strength protects long-term prosperity.
We are profoundly shaped by our environment, by the people we interact with, by the messages we hear, by the habits we observe. And yet, many people underestimate this force. The truth is simple. Your environment either lifts you or it limits you. Quietly, without fanfare. Consider this gently. If you spend time with people who complain, procrastinate, or avoid responsibility, you may find your energy drained, your ambition tempered, your confidence shaken. If you spend time with people who are disciplined, strategic, and growth-oriented, you absorb influence silently. You learn habits without being taught. You gain perspective without being lectured. Environment is not magic, it is exposure. Repeated exposure over time creates patterns, and patterns determine results. Now let us explore influence more deeply. Who are your closest contacts? What ideas do they value? How do they respond to challenges? Are they supportive? Are they ambitious? Are they calm under pressure? These traits are contagious, and not just at the surface level. They influence your thinking, your decisions, your perception of what is possible. You can be conscious of it or unconscious. When you design your environment intentionally, you reduce friction, you reduce negative influence, you increase probability of consistent, disciplined action. There are multiple layers of environment to consider. Physical space. Your workspace, home, and surroundings influence focus and productivity. Cluttered, noisy, or chaotic spaces encourage distraction and stress. Calm, organized, intentional spaces encourage clarity, creativity, and action. Social circle. The people you spend most time with shape habits, language, and mindset. Mentors, peers, and colleagues offer perspectives that accelerate growth. Avoid chronic negativity. Seek constructive influence. Information intake. Books, podcasts, media, and conversations shape beliefs and priorities. Regular exposure to knowledge builds skill, confidence, and long-term vision. Cultural and community norms. The larger environment also matters. Surround yourself with communities that value growth, learning, and integrity. When all layers align, you create a fertile field for success. Pause. Reflect on your current environment. Which elements support growth? Which elements quietly drain energy? Intentional design requires courage, because it may mean spending less time with some people, adjusting daily routines, seeking out mentors, changing physical surroundings, reevaluating information intake. But small adjustments compound, and over months and years, they can dramatically shift results. Now consider influence. Your network can open doors silently. Connections create opportunities. Advice and feedback prevent mistakes. Observation accelerates learning. And the most financially successful individuals deliberately curate influence. They choose who to listen to. They choose where to spend time. They choose what knowledge to absorb. This creates an invisible edge, an edge built quietly, and an edge that compounds. Your environment is your foundation. Influence is your accelerant.
Together, they support habits, mindset, and decision-making. Without conscious design, your environment will shape you anyway, but often in subtle, limiting ways. By taking control, you ensure that external conditions support rather than hinder your long-term growth. Remember this: you do not need to overhaul everything at once. Start small. Adjust one relationship. Organize your workspace. Select better informational sources. Small, consistent improvements lead to exponential shifts. Over time, your surroundings become allies in building wealth. And when your environment aligns with your ambition, success feels less like struggle and more like natural progress. Calm, intentional, sustainable. That is the power of environment and influence.
The world changes quietly, until suddenly it feels overwhelming. Technologies evolve, markets shift, industries transform. Skills that were valuable yesterday may become outdated tomorrow. And yet there is a secret advantage. Those who commit to continuous learning stay ahead effortlessly. Learning is not just accumulation of facts. It is adaptation. It is foresight. It is survival. It is leverage. Let us explore this carefully. The most financially successful individuals are not the smartest in the room. They are the most curious, the most willing to invest time in growth. They understand that knowledge compounds just like money. Skill plus time plus application equals exponential advantage. Imagine your mind as fertile soil. Information is the seed. Practice is the water. Reflection is the sunlight. Repeated over years, a small daily habit creates expertise, insight, and intuition. This is how people remain competitive even as the world shifts around them. Now, consider learning as a strategic tool. Not all knowledge is equal. Seek information that expands your skill set, improves decision-making, builds capacity for earning, saving, or investing, enhances problem-solving, strengthens emotional intelligence. Focus on learning that is applied. Knowledge unused is opportunity wasted. And here is a reassuring principle. You do not need to master everything immediately. Start small. Read one chapter a day. Take one course every few months. Practice one new skill at a time. The compound effect will astound you. Continuous learning also protects against obsolescence. Jobs change, markets fluctuate, economic cycles shift. Those who fail to adapt often fall behind, not because they are incapable, but because they stopped learning. Those who embrace lifelong learning gain flexibility. They pivot effortlessly. They seize opportunity early. They minimize risk in uncertain conditions. And here is another subtle truth. Learning creates confidence. Confidence enhances decision-making. Better decisions generate stronger results. Curiosity also attracts allies. People naturally gravitate toward those who are informed, thoughtful, and capable of growth. And networks built around learning amplify opportunity. Let's pause for reflection. Ask yourself gently, what skills are becoming increasingly valuable in your field? Which habits strengthen my adaptability? Where can I invest time today to remain competitive 5 years from now? Even small answers produce meaningful outcomes.
Continuous learning is also deeply personal. It shapes mindset. It fosters resilience. It encourages humility. It cultivates creativity. These qualities, combined with discipline and financial intelligence, multiply results silently. Remember, the world may change fast, but the person who grows steadily remains anchored. Learning transforms fear of change into excitement for opportunity. Each new idea absorbed, each skill practiced, each insight reflected upon builds a compounding advantage. Think long-term. Even 10 minutes of deliberate learning each day accumulates into hundreds of hours a year. That is enough to separate average performers from exceptional ones. And the beauty of this practice, it never stops giving. Knowledge once learned can be applied repeatedly. It informs future decisions. It creates options. It generates freedom. Continuous learning is more than survival. It is strategic growth. It is leverage applied to the mind. It is a habit of those who choose to stay ahead while others remain stagnant. Pause, reflect, and commit to being a lifelong student of your craft, your finances, and your life. Because in a world of constant change, the person who continues learning always maintains an edge. Calm, consistent, intentional. This is how you stay ahead quietly but powerfully.
Discipline is not dramatic. It does not demand heroics. It does not arrive with sudden bursts of willpower. Discipline is quiet, steady, invisible most of the time. Yet it is the factor that separates extraordinary outcomes from mediocrity. Let us reflect on this. Talent is fleeting. Luck is unpredictable. Opportunity comes and goes. But discipline, consistently applied, compounds. It builds momentum. It creates reliability. It amplifies results over time. Consider daily habits. Small, seemingly insignificant actions performed consistently accumulate into meaningful outcomes. Reading for 20 minutes each day builds knowledge that transforms decision-making. Saving 5% of income consistently generates wealth that multiplies through investment. Exercising consistently improves energy, focus, and resilience. Each choice alone may feel trivial, yet over weeks, months, and years, the effects are undeniable. Now, pause and think. What daily actions define your life today? Are they aligned with long-term goals, or are they reactive, unplanned, and habitual in ways that do not serve growth? Discipline is intentional. It structures your day. It prioritizes effort on high-value tasks. It reduces energy wasted on low-impact activities, and it protects you from the influence of fleeting emotions. Because without structure, even motivation can be unreliable. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline remains. It ensures that progress continues even when enthusiasm fades. High achievers understand this principle deeply. Consistency outperforms intensity. A moderate action performed daily far exceeds sporadic bursts of extreme effort. Discipline is cumulative. It compounds quietly, and one of its most powerful traits is its ability to build habits. Habits are the automation of discipline. When a beneficial action becomes a habit, it requires less mental energy. It occurs naturally, and natural actions produce predictable results. Let us explore a practical approach. Identify 2 to 3 core habits aligned with your highest priorities. Focus on performing them daily. Track them. Review them weekly. Adjust gently as necessary. Avoid trying to overhaul everything at once. Sustainable habits are slow to establish. patience ensures permanence. Over time, disciplined actions compound like interest. They amplify skills. They amplify income. They amplify personal growth. And here's another critical point. Discipline strengthens decision-making. Each disciplined choice reinforces confidence in the next. Fear of failure decreases. Procrastination diminishes. Self-trust grows. Momentum emerges. And momentum, once established, multiplies results exponentially. Pause. Reflect. Your daily choices are your architecture. Your habits are the bricks. Discipline is the mortar. Over time, your life, financial, personal, professional, becomes a carefully constructed structure, strong and reliable. This is the power of practicing discipline. It is not flashy. It does not promise instant gratification, but it produces long-term compounding success. And it creates freedom. The freedom to act intentionally. The freedom to plan confidently. The freedom to navigate uncertainty without panic. Daily discipline is not a restriction. It is empowerment. It is the engine of wealth, stability, and personal mastery. And the beauty of it? You can begin today. One action, one habit, one disciplined choice, repeated consistently. And over time, the results will quietly, steadily, and powerfully multiply.
Action alone is not enough. Many people work tirelessly. They take steps forward. They exert effort. And yet, progress can stall. Why? Because action without reflection is incomplete. The most successful individuals do not simply act. They act, they observe, they adjust. This is the essence of the feedback loop. Pause. Consider this carefully. Every outcome, success or setback, contains information. A project that thrives teaches you what works. A mistake that occurs teaches you what to avoid. Without this insight, experience is wasted effort. Feedback loops turn experience into mastery, and mastery over time compounds. Now, let us explore how to create a feedback loop effectively. Action. Take a deliberate, intentional step toward your goal. No step is too small. No effort is wasted if applied thoughtfully. Observation. Record results. Reflect objectively. Ask questions calmly. What worked well? What could be improved? What patterns are emerging? Analysis. Identify lessons without judgment. Separate emotion from fact. Focus on what the outcome teaches about your method. Adjustment. Apply lessons immediately. Modify strategy. Refine process. Reinforce behaviors that produce results. Iteration. Repeat. Cycle again and again. Each loop strengthens skill, decision-making, and results. The power of feedback loops is subtle but immense. Small corrections over time prevent large failures later. Small improvements accumulate into mastery. The quiet truth is this: perfection is not required. Consistency and reflection produce more growth than intermittent brilliance. High performers embrace setbacks, not as failures, but as information-rich opportunities. Pause and reflect. How often do you review your actions? Do you extract lessons from both success and challenge? Do you adjust accordingly? Feedback loops also reduce risk. When you make small, controlled moves and review results, you prevent compounding mistakes. You catch errors early. You learn faster than the pace of change. Another benefit:
Feedback loops build confidence because each adjustment, no matter how minor, increases competence, and competence reduces fear. Fear diminishes indecision, and action becomes more precise. Over time, this process transforms how you approach life. Instead of being reactive, you become proactive. Instead of being frustrated by setbacks, you become empowered by insight. Instead of hoping for success, you engineer it. Consider this quietly. Every habit reinforced, every system refined, every decision adjusted, amplifies your trajectory. The feedback loop is a habit of lifelong learners. It turns experience into strategy. It turns errors into intelligence. It turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. And the most powerful part? This loop never ends. As long as you are growing, you are learning. As long as you are learning, you are refining. As long as you refine, you increase your impact. Pause, breathe, and remember, your daily actions are not isolated. Every choice, every adjustment, every reflection feeds into a cycle of continuous improvement. This is how small, steady, intelligent action becomes transformational. Quietly, consistently, powerfully.
You have traveled through the essential principles of wealth and personal mastery. Discipline, financial intelligence, leverage, long-term thinking, emotional mastery, environment, continuous learning, daily habits, reflection. Each chapter stands alone. Each is powerful. But the true transformation comes when they work together. Integration is the bridge between knowing and living. Pause. Reflect. How do all these elements fit into your life? How do they interact? How can they reinforce one another? Let's walk through this calmly. Discipline is the engine. Daily habits multiply results. Financial intelligence guides decisions. Leverage amplifies effort. Long-term thinking ensures patience. Emotional mastery protects stability. Environment and influence shape possibilities. Continuous learning keeps you adaptive. Feedback loops refine action. Together, these principles create a system that grows quietly, steadily, powerfully. Integration also requires alignment. Goals, values, and actions must support one another. Without alignment, even disciplined effort can feel exhausting. Even intelligent strategies can falter. Integration asks you to pause and connect. Does my daily routine support long-term financial growth? Do my relationships and environment strengthen my habits? Am I learning and reflecting consistently? Am I leveraging time, skill, and resources effectively? Am I managing emotion to preserve stability? These questions are not meant to overwhelm. They are gentle guides, like markers along a path. And as you align each element, you create momentum. Momentum that compounds over months and years. Now consider fulfillment. True wealth is more than numbers in a bank. It is the freedom to live intentionally. It is the confidence to act calmly in uncertainty. It is the capacity to grow while supporting others. Integration ensures that your pursuit of wealth does not sacrifice purpose, health, or relationships. Pause again. Your life is a system. Each principle you have learned is a component of that system.
When one component strengthens, the system grows stronger. When one component is neglected, the system weakens. Integration is the conscious practice of balancing all parts. It requires reflection, adjustment, and patience. And the rewards are profound. Sustained financial growth, stable emotional state, clarity of purpose, enhanced relationships, continued personal and professional development. This is the culmination of the journey. Not because it happens suddenly, but because all prior principles compound over time, quietly, steadily, powerfully. Take a deep breath. Imagine yourself applying all these principles consistently. Feel the calm confidence of disciplined action. Notice the freedom that comes from long-term perspective. Appreciate the growth from continuous learning and feedback. Sense the stability created by emotional mastery and aligned environment. This is the essence of integrated wealth and fulfillment. It is not about shortcuts. It is about systems. It is about habits. It is about mindset. It is about patience. And most importantly, it is about living intentionally. Remember, wealth and fulfillment are not destinations. They are processes. Processes built on principles, repeated consistently, refined thoughtfully, and applied wisely. Integration is your final practice, bringing all elements together to create a life that is financially strong, emotionally stable, and deeply fulfilling. Quietly, consistently, powerfully. This concludes the journey through $8 Million Habits by Brian Tracy. Carry these principles forward, apply them daily, and watch your life transform steadily, with confidence and with calm mastery.